PTSD is it's interesting. I did a lot of studying on PTSD. I'm just from my own personal knowledge of it, and I realized that about 20% of people that go through trauma get stuck with PTSD. And trauma could be any kind of trauma. It could be battlefield, it could be sexual assault, it could be moving, it could be financial disaster, it could be divorce, it could be bullying from a child. There's all of these different, types of trauma that people feel. It doesn't matter the type of trauma. What's interesting about trauma and PTSD is trauma is trauma is trauma. It's the same. It leaves the same thing on your soul. Varying degrees, of course. You could get in a car accident and not think anything of it. It might be a little fender bender, but then you can get another car accident and it could be a total wipeout, and you can have to flip over and you can become paralyzed. That's different elements of trauma, but the essence of the feeling is the same. And so I started thinking about trauma and thinking about PTSD, and through my research I discovered that what happens in the mind is that it switches. There's these switches on, for lack of a better word, I can't think, but I don't have my notes in front of me in regards to it, but I just more or less wanted to tell you the story, so hopefully you can pick up what I'm dropping down here on this. But the basic is that in your mind you have like a switch that happens that keeps you in that hyper state for about 20% of people, and that's why we get the PTSD. And I started thinking, well, wait a minute, so if what happens to us switches, can we unswitch it? Can we reprogram our mind? And I gotta tell you, so when I was married and going through all of this, and after I had this moment of kind of clarity, of peace, I finally, for the first time, went to counseling. It took, like I said, 15 years, and I wish I could remember what my first words were to my counselor. And I had gone to 2 or 3 counselors before I found the right one. And I don't remember what my first words were, but I remember her first words were, what happens is, like, everything happens in its due time, like a leaf falling from a tree. Now my mind is ready to deal with whatever it was that I was, forced to, all the PTSD stuff, and now it's ready to look at it clearly. It was difficult, there's no doubt about it. It was really difficult, the process of it, but now I was ready to kind of face it. And so when I was diagnosed with the PTSD, I can tell you I was beyond thrilled, because I knew I wasn't crazy. I thought, oh my God, there's a reason why I'm having the nightmares. There's a reason why I am full of anxiety. There's a reason why whenever I go into a restaurant, I want my back against a wall where I'm facing the door so I can see who's coming and who is going. There's a reason why when I park my car, I always park my car back in first so I can have a clean getaway. There's reasons where something comes at me real quickly and I jump, or if I hear the sound of a shotgun, I jump. Why I'm uncomfortable being looked at. There's all reasons this, and because I really thought I was going crazy. And when I think about that time, when I think about what I had to go through, I know this might sound a little harsh, but just stick with me when don't be stuck in the words, but just stay with me when you hear what I say. But I really, really wish somebody had prepared me to be raped. It would have made such a difference. And by that, I don't mean the physical act of being raped. I mean, I wish somebody had explained to me what PTSD is. I wish I understood what goes on in the mind and how you have to your mind is being jumbled. And it was like my mind was like a wasp on LSD. It was buzzing everywhere, but yet my soul, my spirit, it was dying inside. And to try to find a way to balance the two, if somebody would have explained to me, maybe not necessarily rape, but help me understand trauma, it would have made such a difference. And I think about what you're going through in your everyday life. You prepare for trauma, you prepare for natural disasters, we prepare for finances, we prepare for marriage, hopefully, God willing, we prepare to figure out how to buy a house, we prepare in some ways to deal with kids, we prepare all of these things in our life, but yet we don't prepare prepare for trauma. On some level, yes, you know, we collect water, we collect food, but do we really understand what happens to a person that's really dealt with trauma? I mean, what's going to happen to them financially? It's estimated that a person that deals with PTSD loses about $150,000 in income in their year because of time off, because of their lack of feeling comfort, their constant jumping from place to place. I live like a gypsy in many ways. I've had more jobs than most people I know, because I would find a place, get comfortable there, and then start having my victim's mindset and have to move on. Get comfortable there, start having my victim's mindset and have to move on. You know, and that was my comfort, because it was with sexual assault, women, and I would suppose men too, deal with it differently. Some women see their body as being really ugly because it attracted this really ugly thing, and so they start gaining weight. They don't see the value in their body. Some women become really promiscuous. Some women like me, we run. You know, if there's something that we need to confront, we'll run from it. If something gets a little uncomfortable, we run from it. So everyone kind of reacts differently, and I ended up being a runner. And so that's what was happening with me, living like a gypsy, trying to figure out, I just couldn't process and put things together. And anyway, when I started looking at things, and I started trying to figure out, who am I? Who would I be? I had this really great conversation with my older sisters, very wise woman, and I was feeling kind of stuck, trying to figure out, where am I going to go? And she said to me, well, think back when you were 11 years old. What did you like to do? Because usually around the age of 11, the kids at that age still are not weighed down with the world, you know, with all their own craziness. They're still impressionable. They're still playing with what they really love to do. And I started thinking, well, when I was 11, I rode horses, and I was swimming. I was on a swim team, and I was running everywhere. I grew up in a really beautiful area of Orange County. It was very rural at the time, and there's these great fields out in rural kind of area. And so I swam, and I rode, and I ran. Perfect base for a triathlete. And I've always been an athlete, and I've always wanted to do triathlons, but I was fearful. I'm not necessarily the best runner. I'm a little slow, but I'm a good swimmer, and I'm a good cyclist, but not necessarily the best runner. And so for about 10 years, I thought of doing this one triathlon, and I kept thinking, no, I don't think I could do it. Even though I figured out mathematically how I could, if I had a certain amount of time on my swim and a certain amount of time on the run, on the bike, I could still walk the whole course, the run course, and still finish. And I still let fear say, no, you're going to fail. You're going to look like a jerk. You're going to, you're not going to do it. And then I met an athlete who does this particular race, and I asked, what is it like? And he said one thing, and it changed my world. He said, the race is more mental than it is physical. And I started thinking, damn, I'm having a hard time going 5 minutes without a negative thought. Could I do this race without one negative thought? That was the challenge. So this race I'm talking about, anyone in here triathlete? No one in here is a triathlete. Am I the only badass? I'm not saying that because you guys carry guns, so I'm just giving you a little smack talk here. And so there's 4 different types of triathlons. There's a sprint, an Olympic, a half Ironman, and an Ironman. And for whatever crazy reason, I do Ironmans. And so if you're not familiar with it, which I don't think anyone here is, that's fine, absolutely fine. I get to introduce another thing to you. An Ironman, you swim. Well, first of all, athletes are given 17 hours to finish the course. So we swim 2.4 miles in an open water. That's not in a pool. That could be in a river or a lake or the ocean. And then we hop on our bikes, not a motorcycle. We hop on our bikes and we ride 112 miles. And then when we're done with that, then we run a full marathon, 26.2 miles. And I thought, I got to do that. Somehow that's what I was on my bucket list for 10 years, and I tried to figure out how can I finish that. And when I heard that Ironman say it's more mental than physical, and it's considered the world's toughest endurance sport, so it's clearly physical, but it's more mental, I thought, what a great thing that I can somehow embrace. And so I decided right then and there I was going to race it, and I had two goals. One, could I turn my raggedy ass into an Ironman? At the time, I was 49. Second, could I do the entire race without one negative thought? And so I trained my mind and my body, disciplined both for a year, and I chose to do Ironman Arizona, primarily because there are no sharks. I'm frightened of sharks. And I finished in 16 hours, 7 minutes, and 52 seconds. It was absolutely the best day of my entire life. It was fabulous. And I'm not giving this away, but just in case I can inspire someone to do a race, maybe even with me, I brought my Bible. This is my training book. So if you're curious, what does it take in regards to training for a race? I'd love to share this with you, and check it out during our break and ask me any questions. And if I can inspire one of you to race with me, that would be fabulous. I'd be so open to that.